What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today we're gonna be listing my favorite movies from 2005. Sorry I didn't do a video this weekend. It was just kind of felt like relaxing. So what the plan is, today I'm doing this. Tomorrow, like in the afternoon, I'll be reviewing Conjuring 2 for fucking sure. Finally, guys, sorry I've been making y'all wait on that. And then in the evening, I'm gonna watch Last Voyage of the Demeter tomorrow for the very first time. So I'll review that tomorrow, and then Wednesday I'll do Maniac Cop. Thursday will be Conjuring 3, and then I'll figure out something to do on Friday, and then probably I'll try at some point in the weekend to do another Screen Rant. I have an article. I just haven't been able to get around to it. So hopefully this weekend I'll do it. Let me move this out the way. But today I'm listing my favorite movies from 2005, and it was gonna be 10, but one of them for some reason it seems like it's listed for 2006. So I am gonna put that in V for Vendetta. So I'm gonna save that for next week. But 2005 was a pretty good year. I mean, Begins, you had Revenge of the Sith, which is gonna be in the list, even though arguably it would have been my number one a different time, but because of what they've done, I couldn't justify putting it lower, but I still had to keep it, like, I just couldn't put number one, but yeah, guys, let's get into it. My number 9. This one is definitely a more recent edition because I just watched this movie, but I felt like it's earned its place in my list. Wolf Creek. And like I said, I'm not gonna go too into it because I've already reviewed it. But I had to mention it. I had to definitely mention it. Just the concept. The fact it was based off 2 real killers, and they made their own with Mick Taylor, and he, my opinion, is the whole concept is just scary, and I like it. The cast they got for it, for Ben, Liz, and Christy, I think was the other one. I thought they were believable. The whole concept, yeah, it's definitely very gory, but it is definitely a well-made movie. And it's just very hard-hitting. If you like good horror, it's very underrated, too. It's like a more, because it's an Australian movie. It's not like some major production, but I could not put this on the list, so I had to put it on there. I think the atmosphere, just everything about it, just how real it felt. And yeah, so I mean, and in fact, I got a sequel. So Wolf Creek is my number 9. My number 8 is Jet Li's Unleashed. This movie, to me, is one of Jet Li's best. The whole concept that this guy Danny, who's basically used initially as this kind of basically attack dog for and he's definitely the villain they got to play Danny, not Danny, his boss, I can't think of his name right now, but he works for him, but then meets with Sam, played by Morgan Freeman, and basically kind of gets to see a different life and starts realizing, and obviously goes against his owner, and we get some great fight scenes. I just like it's an interesting little concept, Jet Li, I think he kind of, everyone including me a little bit, definitely he's more known for his martial arts, but he's not a bad actor. I think in this movie, because this was at that height of that Jet Li time where he was just in everything, after pretty much, I would say not Men in Black, Lethal Weapon 4, going into the 2000s, he was just in everything. And I mean, you've already saw he's in a lot of my movies, my favorite movies in terms of the year they were released. So I had to definitely mention it. So I mean, I like it. It's a simple concept. Reviewed it a couple years ago, and yeah, so I had to put that on there. So my number seven, not seven, number eight is Unleashed. My number seven is The Descent. The Descent is one of those movies, very underrated movie. It's one of those I remember watching. It was actually on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think, where I first watched it. And these not four, I think it was four or something like that. I'll just say group of friends go into a cave, to repair their friendship. And the actresses they got are really believable because they're not like some name actresses. And I mean, the creatures, the crawlers, as they're called, are really cool, and I like how they're first introduced. The movie's genuinely scary, and I love isolation horror, so you have that like aspect. Yeah, you got these group of friends locked in this cave. You have people who already died in the beginning of the movie. Like the tone is just being built, the suspense, like the film. There's a lot of kills, but it's not like there is definitely build up to the kills, so they don't just go straight up kill kill kill. Like no, like there is definitely build up, and it's well earned build up too. And I love the final act when the girl's all covered in blood. Like it's a great movie, and I'm definitely maybe next month, because like I said, November, I'm still gonna do a little bit of horror stuff, so maybe I'll do the Descent. It's been a little bit. I have never seen the sequel, and I don't even know if I want to watch it. I'll look and see what people are saying about it. If I'm hearing it's really abysmal, then I might just skip it. Like because there's like 30 Days a Night. 30 Days a Night got a sequel. It's a pile of shit. So I'm gonna see if it's something like that. So yeah, but I'll definitely review The Descent. I definitely need to. It's a great one, and it's perfect for Halloween. The creatures, the crawlers are a great concept. They're scary looking. I remember I watched this one kind of young. This is 2005, so I watched it like 2007 or 8. It was one of those years I think I watched it, and man, it got me. So it's a well done film. So that's my number 7. My number 6 is Constantine. No, that's my number 4. My number 6 is Devil's Rejects. Devil's Rejects is I reviewed this. I actually watched it relatively recently, like a couple weeks ago, and man, it's such a good one. It's my favorite Rob Zombie movie. I love House of Thousand Corpses. That's probably objectively his best, but I love Devil's Rejects. I love like Otis, Baby, and Captain Spaulding are all on the run because the cops are all after him. I actually like the actor who plays the sheriff. He's the douchey dad in Halloween, in Rob Zombie's Halloween. I do like him in this movie. Like he wants to, because he's the brother of the other cop from the last movie. And I think the one thing I like about this one is how raw it is. Like House of a Thousand Corpses is definitely I like the movie, but it's definitely more like kind of stylized to where like this movie really makes you feel the raw of this family, like how fucked up this family is. Like you really think, but yeah, this family's very fucked up, and they don't hold back on it. Like the scene where they attack the band at the motel. That's some hard shit to watch. And this is one of those films where Rob Zombie's dialogue actually fits. Like the scene with the chicken, fucking the chick. I thought that was actually funny. That's like where that type of dialogue actually fits, and it's just an all around just good. It's a good chase movie. And in my opinion, it is the real ending to this story. 3 from Hell has some good parts. I think the first half's actually pretty good. If it had just ended there, maybe I'd watch it again. But the fact that I hated the whole portion in Mexico, it was stupid. So, and also just the idea of it makes no sense. They're dead. The family and I love that they played Freebird while they were doing it. They thought they got away, and then the cops are waiting for them. They were dead, dude. They all got shot to shit. There's no way. Like in the Yeah, in a car that has no roof. I just thought about that. Like, the car doesn't have a roof. No, there's no way they did not get shot in the face. It's stupid how they did it. So, in my opinion, this is the ending of the story. I think it works better that way anyway. So, yeah, I definitely recommend Devil's Rejects. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to watch, especially, definitely, it's, I had to put it on the list, though. I mean, I love this movie. I love the tone of it. So, that's my number six. My number five is um is fuck, I'm trying to remember what my number five is. Um Fuck it, I'll just make up another one. I'll just think of another one. My number five is fuck it, I'll just skip number five and I'll just write. I hate doing this. I just couldn't think of it all. It'll probably come to me, but if not, I'll just write it in the description. This is embarrassing. I don't know why I couldn't think of my number five. I'm gonna fucking slap myself when I see it. Um, my number four is Constantine, the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie. In my opinion, this movie is very underrated. I remember seeing this at the time, and I'll be honest, I had just learned of kind of because I at the time I just thought it was a Keanu Reeves movie, but no, it was like I learned oh no, Constantine's actually a DC character, and yeah, the movie is definitely not really accurate to the comics. I mean, even his look, but I think it's still a great movie. I like it was at that time where DC was just willing to do different types of movies. I think the biggest thing I really liked about it is that it did not feel like a superhero movie. It felt like something different we hadn't seen before, you know? And just the fact that the aesthetic of the movie was great. I thought Rachel Weisz basically playing two characters because she was her twin sister Isabella, and then Angela, who's the main, who's like I think she's a cop if I remember. Her and Keanu work together to try to find out about her sister's death, and the fact of this that he can basically go to the war between world and our world and hell. And the devil is actually a great villain in this movie. I think it's a well. I love the tone of this movie. Yeah, some of the CGI isn't great, but it's a good movie. And it's, even though, like I said, it's not the greatest. Like, if you're a Constantine fan, I can see why someone would probably not like it if you actually like the character from the comics. But I do think this movie at least is in the spirit. And I actually thought Keanu Reeves did a great job in it. Actually, at the time, this is a different type of comic book film, you know? My number three is the 2005 King Kong movie. I remember when this movie was coming out. I just remember being a kid, and I had like a lot of toys. I was really excited for it, and I thought it hit it out the park. I thought it was a good kind of remake of the 33 film, which was what it's supposed to be. you know, I can agree with some of the criticism. The film it didn't need to be as long as it did, but I love the look of Kong in the movie with his scratches, the look of Skull Island. I actually kind of prefer the aesthetic of this movie. I think Skull Island's a good movie, but I think I prefer Skull Island's design in this. I like the look of some of the dinosaurs, and I think that's another reason I like it. Yeah, and Adrian Brody wasn't like the best as the lead, and I think it was Naomi Watts who was, or Nicole Kidman. It was one of those two who was the girl for Kong, but the V-Rexes were cool, and just the lore around Island was good. Like I said, it's not a perfect movie, but I like it. I like it when Kong gets to New York and you have that iconic scene on the Empire State Building. It's still a great scene. So, and I just think this film, one thing they got right was scale. I've always, it's the thing with me, like, especially if you're doing like kind of like creature features, scale is one of the best things to get. It's one of the reasons Jurassic Park is so iconic is how much it got scale right. Even like Godzilla, like even like another example. But like I like when a film can just kind of get that sense of scale right, and I think this film very much does, especially during the Kong versus T Rex's fight. And it didn't really hold back on the violence, and I thought it was a decent. They caught the aesthetic of like the 1920s, so yeah. I had to put it in the list. It's not perfect. It has its problems, um, but yeah. So that's my number three. My number two, which originally would have been my number one at a different time, but Disney's ruined the franchise. But Revenge of the Sith. This was my most. I was so hyped for this movie when it was coming. I remember when I forgot what I think it was Incredibles. I could be wrong. When I watched that and they showed the first teaser for Revenge of the Sith, and I'm not gonna lie, the hype was real. The hype was real, and this movie to me largely delivered. You know, I'm not saying it's perfect. There's still some bad acting moments, but just the fact that Anakin, the way they do Anakin's turn is just done so well, and Palpatine taking over. And unfortunately, a lot of these moments have been fucking ruined because of the lore that Disney has added with their shit. So, like, Order 66, you know, is ruined because the amount of fucking Jedis there are now that have survived Order 66. But if we're just talking by itself and not even thinking about that, Order 6, I was so shocked as a kid watching that. Or even though even as a kid, I knew Anakin was going to become Darth Vader. But when you just like actually see it happen, and then, you know, the attack on the Jedi Temple, and then when Obi-Wan finds out it is Anakin doing it, there's so much well written in this movie. And then just unfortunately, it's all undone by the newer movies. So it's almost like pointless. That's why, I'll be honest, guys, I rewatched this film like 2 years ago. Because even from 2 years ago, I tried to rewatch it a couple years before that, and it's still, both times, I couldn't get that feeling back. Like, I can still acknowledge it's a great film, but I can't be like, oh yeah, I'm in this, because it's like, no, none of it matters. Anakin isn't really the chosen one, because Palpatine comes back. Order 66 is if we're going to be honest, is a massive failure because the amount of Jedi that are fucking alive after. So it's like, all this in this movie doesn't matter. So that's why I borderline would have put it lower, but I couldn't justify it. I mean, in terms of just putting myself in the context of 2005, this was my movie. This would have been number one in any other timeline, but yeah, I still had to put it high up though. Just because, if I take myself out of it, like what they've done out of it, Revenge of the Sith is still a great movie. That final fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan, just for the first time, the music, Battle of Heroes is, in my opinion, while I love the Imperial March, that and like Duel of Fates are probably, if I'm being objective, are probably the best Star Wars scores. Like, the score for this battle is one of the great, and then the way they cut it between him and then, you know, Yoda and Palpatine fighting. So it's like, all that is still good. It just doesn't, I can't get emotionally invested anymore, which sucks, but yeah. But still, I could not put it on the list, so. But my number one, y'all know me, I'm a Batman fan. Batman Begins. Batman Begins, this is another one, I was just so hyped for this, just because I'm like, oh, new Batman. And I was not expecting what I got, but I was royally surprised in a good way. How, like, Nolan did go for realism. I think, because I'll say this, my opinions on the Nolan trilogy have changed a little bit. I do still think The Dark Knight's a great film, but if I'm being honest, I think this is probably the best of it. If, like, Dark Knight's a better film objectively, but Batman Begins is a better Batman film. I think I like how they're able to mesh like you still have that kind of comic book a little bit kind of tone, but you still have that realism that Nolan was going for. I feel like rewatching the Nolan trilogy really recently, and I know it's gonna be a hot take, but I think they went too realistic in Rise and Rises. I mean, Dark Knight and Rises. I think I like that this one still tried to at least have a little bit of a comic book aesthetic, and that's why it just holds up so much. The only negative I really have is what they do with Scarecrow, especially especially what we see Cillian Murphy do with movies now. So it's like he would have been an amazing Scarecrow if they actually let him be Scarecrow. But aside from that, I thought, Liam Neeson, the way they told. This is my opinion. I would put this in, if I were to do a list of best comic book origins, this would have to be like number two. Like, I'd probably say number one for me would probably be Spider Man, though some would argue Superman 78. But neither of those arguments would be bad. Like, Spider Man for me. But this one is after. I really think the way they tell the story of, the Waynes getting murdered, to him going to the League of Shadows to where he becomes back as Bruce Wayne, and Christian Bale really pulls it off as that billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne. And I love the aesthetic of Gotham in this movie. I love that, like, yeah, it's still kind of stylized like the Burton one, but it's not just like that was one of the other negatives I had for some of the later movies. I still think they're good, but they went too realistic with them, so some of this, it just looks like generic city. I like that this movie, they still try to give the city some style, and I do love it. I love the suit. I love that first scene where you actually see Batman and the way he's built up and he gets all his tech and all the way he worked. Bruce Wayne works his way up to becoming Batman, and he finally is Batman. And I do like that final confrontation between Batman and Rage. Liam Neeson killed it as Rage Al Ghul. I know he's race swapped, I know, but I still think he does a good job to where I'm almost okay with it. One of the few times I'll accept it. Only thing, they probably shouldn't have killed him off, but I get it. They're supposed to go for a realism world, so they go for a realistic tone. So they probably, Rage usually has the pit. But they don't. I guess they just decided not to go with that this time around. So, but yeah, I do love this movie, and when I think 2005, for me, this is the movie. I think this movie was such a big deal when it came out, and it just hit. So that's my favorite from 2005. I'm sorry for I don't know why I couldn't freaking remember my number 5. What I'll do is, like I said, I'll put it in the description, and I'll also probably in my video tomorrow I'll mention it in there so I can actually talk about it. But aside from that, I thought 2005 was pretty fun to make. 2006 is gonna be a bit harder. It probably won't even be a big list if I'm just being honest. It might be like maybe 9 max. Because 2006 just was not that great of a year for movies. I felt like, especially after this year, there just really wasn't much in 2006. Like, not really. So, but anyway, tomorrow, in the morning, like I said, it either be in the early morning to late morning to afternoon, I'll be reviewing Conjuring 2, and then in the evening, not 2 evening though, like I'll probably do the Conjuring, not the Conjuring, Last Voyage of the Demeter, probably like this time, like probably the same time like today. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. So 2 videos tomorrow, and yeah. But yeah, 2005 was fun to make. 2006, like I said, is gonna be a bit harder because there really wasn't that much good movies in 2006. So anyway,